Hi, PerspectiveWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday, July 2nd. Today will be a much more settled weather day in the Mid-Atlantic region with plenty of sunshine and afternoon high temperatures near the 90-degree mark in D.C., Philadelphia, and New York City. Unlike the last few days, chances for afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms are much reduced, especially in the Philadelphia and D.C. metro region. There's a slight chance for an afternoon shower or thunderstorm in New York City, New Jersey, but for the most part, much reduced chance today. The upper level low that is spinning over the northeast U.S. over the past few days is finally shifting to the south and east over the open waters of the western Atlantic. Looks like tomorrow we become quite hot in the I-95 corridor region, perhaps reaching 95 degrees in and around the D.C. metro region, certainly into the 90s. In Philadelphia, 90 degrees, perhaps lower 90s in New York City. However, a backdoor cool front comes through from the northeast to the southwest tomorrow night. That could spark some shower and thunderstorm activity later tomorrow into tomorrow night, maybe even a couple of strong thunderstorms as well. That backdoor cool front, the passage of that frontal system, should knock off a few degrees for the temperatures this upcoming week, and primarily in the 80s for highs in Philadelphia, New York City, maybe flirting with the 90-degree mark in D.C. on Saturday and Sunday. Can be an afternoon or evening shower or thunderstorm anywhere in the Mid-Atlantic region this weekend, but for the most part, it'll be rain-free conditions and quite warm, but not excessively hot. Let's take a look at the surface map. High pressure generally dominates this morning from the Great Lakes region all the way into the Mid-Atlantic region. Again, we've had that upper level feature sitting over the northeastern U.S., now shifting to the south and east. And the fact that we'll have plenty of sunshine today, reduced cloudiness, will allow for temperatures to rise almost to the 90-degree mark this afternoon. Again, probably very little, if any, chance of an afternoon shower or thunderstorm in places like Philadelphia and D.C. But when you get closer to the coast, New Jersey coastline, New York City, there can be an afternoon or evening shower or thunderstorm. Stationary frontal system over the southern U.S. that'll actually stick around there for the next few days, and low pressure will form. Becomes quite an unsettled and wet weather pattern for the deep south. Meanwhile, out west, still some cold air around, and that is helping to spark some thunderstorm activity. The clash between the colder than normal air mass in the intermountain west and what is developing as a heat wave for the middle part of the nation. Well, let's take a look at last night's 6Z operational run of the GFS. First, we'll look at 500 millibar height anomalies. We've had that upper level low sitting over the northeast U.S. over the last few days. It finally makes a move to the south and east out over the open waters of the western Atlantic. That'll make it much more settled today in New England, in the Mid-Atlantic region. Again, the best chance for any afternoon or evening showers or thunderstorms will be closest to that system along, let's say, the New Jersey coastline into New York City, but probably little, if any, chance when you get back into southeastern Pennsylvania all the way down into Maryland and Virginia. Strong high pressure ridging forming here over the south central part of Canada, upper level low with some cooler than normal air out west. Let's watch how this it changes over the next few days. There goes that upper level low. Again, plenty of sunshine today and tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes hot in the I-95 corridor region with the 90s very likely in D.C., probably Philadelphia, maybe New York City as well. Look at this ridge starting to pop here in the upper levels over southern Canada by tomorrow, and that becomes a big player here. But a couple other interesting features. A little low pressure area forming here over the deep south over the upcoming weekend, and it becomes quite unsettled down across the southern states. Cooler than normal because of the massive amount of clouds expected there and a wet pattern as well. But meanwhile, the northern plains, the Great Lakes, looks like a heat wave trying to form this upcoming weekend into next week. But in the northeast, notice still northwest flow aloft. That'll keep temperatures reasonable at least through the upcoming weekend. Probably highs in the mid-80s, maybe upper 80s in Philadelphia and New York City on Saturday and Sunday. Maybe a flirtation with the 90-degree mark in D.C., but no excessive heat this weekend in the Northeast. Again, partly as a result of a northwest flow in the upper part of the atmosphere. Meanwhile, out in the middle of the country, the heat does begin to develop, and here we go into the early part of next week, all the way to Tuesday of next week. That ridge starts to expand into the east, and it looks like we stay very warm, certainly, maybe get it even hotter during the early and middle parts of next week in the northeastern quadrant of the nation. Well, let's see how all this translates to the surface temperature anomalies. We're looking at 2-meter temperature anomalies from last night's 6E GFS run. Starting off today below normal out in the mountainous part of the country, in the western U.S., but above normal across the Great Lakes, southern part of Canada, relatively close to normal, starting the day here in the Mid-Atlantic region. Again, the hottest air relative to normal up across southern Canada, the northern plains, that is associated with that intensifying upper level ridge. Meanwhile, still colder than normal out in the west. Then we'll get into the day on Friday. Notice above normal readings here in the I-95 corridor region. Again, low to mid 90s for Friday afternoon highs in D.C., maybe the lower 90s in Philly, near 90 in New York City, and with cooler than normal air right here over New England. That's the beginning sign of a backdoor cool front, basically a push of air from the northeast to the southwest will bring a little bit of relief in terms of temperatures between Friday and Saturday in New York City for sure, and Philadelphia, maybe even all the way into the D.C. metro region as well. Let's move forward here. Above normal readings on Friday, and then Saturday itself, not all that bad in the Mid-Atlantic region, especially along the coast. New York City may only hold in the lower 80s on Saturday, July 4th, Independence Day. Maybe the middle 80s for highs in Philadelphia. 88, 89, maybe 90 degrees down along D.C., and it'll be pleasantly cool along the coastal region as well on Saturday with the passage of that backdoor cool front. And again, continuation into Saturday night and Sunday itself. Not bad, maybe a little bit warmer than normal here in the Mid-Atlantic, the northeast U.S., but still cooler than normal air resides over the heartland, over the northwestern part of the nation. The hottest air relative to normal over the Great Lakes going into the early part of next week, the southern part of Canada, and then, as we talked about a moment ago, some of that shifts to the east. We get quite warm here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in the northeast, but especially focused over the northern plains and the Great Lakes will be that much warmer than normal air. Again, this is the early part of next week associated with that building ridge in the upper part of the atmosphere. Well, let's now take a look at the surface forecast maps from the 6E GFS. And again, today, probably the best chance for rain-free conditions in several days in Philadelphia, in D.C., maybe a slight chance in New York City, but as that upper level feature moves south and east away from the coast with better conditions, mostly sunny skies, and that'll help to boost temperatures maybe a few degrees higher than we've had over the past couple days when there was some decent cloud cover. Let's move ahead. Again, a little bit of a chance in New York City, maybe along the coastal region of New Jersey for an afternoon or evening shower or storm. Then we get into the day on Friday. Notice what starts to happen here. Even a little bit of a low pressure system with some showers up across New England by the early part of tomorrow afternoon. That's all with that backdoor cool front, basically a push of air, cooler air from the northeast to the southwest. That tends to have its biggest impact if you're closest to the ocean. A place like New York City will probably see 10 degrees knocked off from Friday afternoon to Saturday afternoon, maybe 90, 91 on Friday afternoon in New York City, maybe 82 or so on Saturday afternoon. The backdoor cool front has its least impact the farther inland you go, so D.C. and south and west of D.C., a few degrees will be knocked off of Friday's highs, but not as dramatic of a cool down as what they'll experience in New England and New York City. Let's move ahead. Notice the showers and thunderstorms popping with that backdoor cool front later tomorrow into tomorrow evening. Could even be some strong thunderstorms with that frontal system. That moves on by, and again, it ushers in a little bit cooler air for the upcoming week. And now, it's not completely Rain-free for the upcoming weekend in the Mid-Atlantic region. Just cannot rule out an afternoon or evening shower or thunderstorm on either day in the I-95 corridor region of the Mid-Atlantic region. But most of the time will be rain-free. We go ahead into the day on Sunday. So generally rain-free, cannot completely rule out a shower or thunderstorm. And then we get into what probably is very, very warm conditions over the Great Lakes by the early part of next week, and maybe some increasing heat in the northeastern quadrant of the nation as that upper level ridge starts to expand from the northern plains to Great Lakes into the northeast U.S. So a very warm, settled type of day today, and then a hot day in the Mid-Atlantic region on Friday, ahead of that backdoor cool front, which could bring some showers and thunderstorms to the region later tomorrow into tomorrow night, and then a little bit cooler weather. Still very warm, but cooler than Friday for Saturday and Sunday. That's it for now. For PerspectiveWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.